After getting 2 hours of playtime with Capcom's upcoming oddball JRPG, there's plenty to set Kunitsu-Gami apart from the publisher's bigger blockbuster franchises. Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess is one of those games a lot of people have likely heard about but don't actually have a grasp on what it is. Well, given that it's out in just a few weeks, I was pleased to be invited to get 2 hours of playtime with a new demo. I came away thinking that its mix of action and strategy is still a bit of an odd prospect, but it's one primed to make it stand out from other Capcom heavy hitters. Set in a mystical world highly inspired by ancient Japanese lore and mythology, Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess plays in a surprisingly straightforward manner considering all of the systems it has you juggle. Your objective as the masked warrior So is simply to guide the titular maiden from one side of the battlefield to the other, leading and commanding different types of troops, as well as battling ghoulish enemies in real time yourself, in order to make this happen as smoothly as possible. As per a lot of RTS and tower defense games, Kunitsu-Gami is based around a planning and an action phase, both of which I find to be immediately engaging due to how greatly one can influence the other. During each round's planning phase, So is required to hop around the stage, de-purging normal villagers of the ailment that is currently causing the waves of monsters called the Seethe to appear. You'd think that these would be easy to identify. For the most part they are, although the unique third-person isometric perspective sometimes resulted in pieces of the environment blocking my view. Now, the camera can be twisted, turned and pulled in and out thankfully, but it was something that I always needed to bear in mind. After freeing each villager, it was a simple case of assigning them one of two roles available in the demo: woodcutter or archer. Of the two, woodcutters were obviously the go-to choice for dealing damage to any ground level enemies that pour into each battlefield via torii gates situated at the opposite end of the map, with various winding pathways separating them from Yoshiro the Maiden. However, having only 3 or 4 warriors to place resulted in the need to be strategic. My sense from Kunitsu-Gami's early levels is that they were designed with limited effect of woodcutters in mind, giving me various opportunities to slice into the fray as main character So before other, more powerful melee-based jobs became available. Archers obviously had range by comparison, but only really came in handy for a later mini-boss I got to try against a high-flying enemy. Since the Seethe only ever spawned during the night, it's during the brief day period where I was tasked with situating the best positions for my warriors. Crucially though, you're never locked into these once the action phase at night begins. In fact, Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess actively encourages changing up strategy when the current one isn't working through the advent of 2 quick commands accessed by holding down the left trigger. One will see your warriors advance to wherever the enemy currently is, while the other sees them flee to Yoshiro and offer aid, the latter being extremely handy for instances where enemies have managed to penetrate the defenses and are laying into her. And since Yoshiro's health, not So's, interestingly, is the only way to receive a game over, keeping her safe is essential. As if managing my own actions as well as those of my villagers turned warriors wasn't testing enough, just as important as what occurs on the battlefield is what you do off. Some levels serve as bases you can revisit to build structures and unlock perks and upgrades, for instance, both of which will have a positive impact on your future battles. It's at the base where you can also upgrade the stats of each villager class, upping their health to last longer against the avalanche of Seethe set to come. Most valuable though are the talismans that can improve So's chances in combat, the main example being a rechargeable super skill of sorts. My demo allowed me to swap between 2, the first being a boost that temporarily roused my fellow warriors, while the other saw So unleash a devastating sword swipe. Aggressive or defensive, Kunitsu-Gami's talisman system caters to both. Despite having the strategy portion just as front and center as action, I think it's important to mention that Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess feels just as good to play in real time as any other third-person action RPG. Parrying, for instance, aided me various times during the heat of boss battles, where absorbing the blow by holding up my blade proved way more efficient than simply rolling or leaping out of the way of the forthcoming attack. If anything, the early stages I got to play felt a bit too lax, in that many of the warriors didn't get a look in. I'm sure, however, that this won't be the case as more jobs are introduced during later stages and enemy types grow tougher. Against all odds, I came away from my 2-hour hands-on Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess demo extremely positive about this different flavour of action game from Capcom. Though probably not as glamorous as Dragon's Dogma 2's seemingly endless open world, or the Resident Evil 4 remake's significant attention to detail, this action strategy blend works surprisingly well, and it could appeal to players not too familiar with the genre should they give it enough time to settle in. Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess's nature as a day 1 launch on Xbox Game Pass this Friday Friday, July 19th certainly sets it up well to do so. Anyway, do you plan on picking up Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please sure to give it a like and consider subscribing to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.